structures, their civil servants, their bought and paid for science created an absolute hysteria based around this swine flu that was supposed to wipe out several 100 million people if we did not get the vaccines. The propaganda was non-stop. The newspapers and the journalists, being the pathetic repeaters they all are, just ran most ridiculous and farcical stories about how many people were going to die. And you had the likes of the head of the World Health Organization telling the rest of us to get the vaccine, but he said he wouldn't because he didn't need it. Again, this is how psychopaths are. It's one rule for them and a different one for us. This failed miserably. Almost nobody took the vaccine. All these stories you hear that so many millions took it, it did not happen. Most of the vaccines were dumped into landfills or unfortunately sent to the third world to fight AIDS. If you live in Africa and you get a cold, you're diagnosed as having AIDS, and that's a big scam by the pharmaceutical corporations to, get charity money to pay for drugs and for their profits. That's another reason why you don't give money to big charity. Ultimately, that all goes to pharmaceuticals. It's in terms of research and stuff like that, pharmaceutical companies. So that was a huge failing for them. That was an enormous failure for them, because I was reading in the city of Berlin, they had 3.5 million vaccines that were supposed to be given to the population, and Berlin had billboards and posters all over the city and non-stop media saying this was the end of the world if you do not get your vaccine, and people laughed at it. They laughed at it and refused it, and only something like 250,000 vaccines were actually taken in Berlin. The rest were all dumped in landfills or destroyed incinerators, and that happened in country after country, state after state, all around the Western world. That was their second major flop, and that really frightened and rattled the hell out of them, because for the first time ever, they realized they were losing control of the masses. Even what we would call the people we would call the sheeple or the unwoken people, even they saw through this scam of what it was. What the 2009 swine flu was not some kind of mind control program to destroy our brains with a chemical lobotomy. What it was a bailout for the pharmaceutical companies. The greedy bastards in pharmaceuticals, just like the ones in banking. They saw the ones in banking and Wall Street getting these enormous taxpayer bailouts. And the CEOs, the psychopaths who run all these big pharmaceutical companies said, hey, we deserve a piece of that. How come we can't get our noses in that trough? We want some of that public money as well. Now, our politicians and the psychopaths in politics, and particularly the United Nations and particularly the World Health Organization, devised this really disgusting plan where they were going to whip up this fear of a swine flu pandemic. And this fear of the swine flu pandemic was to justify spending money on vaccines. That's why all the big pharmaceutical manufacturers all got a piece of the action. It wasn't that one company got it. If you look at who the public money was spent on, everyone from Pfizer to see the guy, got a piece of the action. And that was how they snuck the taxpayer bailout into these corporations. And that's another example of how we're locked down. But people saw that. So what's happening now is the pyramid is starting to break apart at the bottom. And when it breaks down, that's when we're on the path to peace. It's going to take a while. Now, we have to do this ourselves in our own lives. Like everything else in life, it doesn't happen by sitting at home and worrying about it. We all have to take proactive measures to bring the psychopathic control grid down. Non-compliance with the control structure is the most powerful one of all. And then self-autonomy and your own personal independence is the second route out of that. Then you lose your fear, and then you gain your confidence, and then you move on. Now, as we head towards this post-psychopathic society, and it is coming, we're going to be confronted with new ways. The psychopaths in charge are going to confront us and present us with challenges that may or may not happen, but we should be aware they're coming. They're going to try and fake more terrorist attacks, more pandemics. They're going to really ramp up things like having a fear of, asteroids hitting the Earth or some kind of major climatic problem. These are all going to come down, but they're all going to fail because they're not getting their way anymore. And eventually, as these things begin to fail, they will throw the towel in, And many of the psychopaths who've risen to the top of politics will just be happy enough to go into banking or money and then just be greedy and just live the rest of their days out as parasites. They won't be particularly interested in social control. Groups like the Rockefeller Foundation and the Council of Foreign Relations and all these gigantic quangos, they will all start to begin to dissipate because people won't be paying them any attention. If people aren't buying the newspapers, the newspaper reporters have no press releases to print from these organizations. So those organizations are essentially put out of business. Now, they will try and lock down the internet. Whether they're going to bring in an internet too, that'll be a pay-per-view kind of subscription system, that has yet to be seen. But technically, that's extremely difficult because of the actual way the web functions. It doesn't work like a single cable feed. It's a matrix of connections and nodes that wrap around the planet. And unless they control places like Iran, Russia and China, they really can't control the World Wide Web and the spread of information. But even that won't break it down, because by the time they get to be able to technically be able to do that, so many people will have woken up that their whole rule will be undermined simply by people who will know it's a scam, it's a joke.